This is Justin Case of AmericaNewscape, joining our friend and mentor Joyce Rockwood for some insight on how she teaches healing from the inside out. Joyce joins us to share a natural health solution, gut health tips for kids. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to AmericaNewscape.
Hey, it's great to be back. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming back. With the leading cause of illness being poor nutrition, we've talked about gut health issues and many natural solutions that adults can utilize to improve their vitality in areas such as constipation, insomnia, and chronic fatigue. But it's also important to talk about how we can support our children's gut health so they can avoid suffering and boost their immune systems naturally. What are some tips for the adults out there who want to make better choices for improving their family's health?
Well, this is a really serious topic right now. We were talking recently about the issue going on with widespread disease and that there's now a threat to our national security on a recent broadcast we did because of the consumption of highly processed foods and what that means for our health and how that's undermining our youth. And, I like to start with some statistics because I think it really gives people something to dig their teeth into and sink their feet into and just get grounded and rooted in what the real truth of the matter is. Before I go into the actual tips, I was reading a lot of information before we connected today, and I actually saw something that was so alarming and exciting at the same time that I'll share in a moment. But let's just start with the CDC says 6 out of 10 adults in the United States have chronic disease. 6 out of 10 adults in the United States have some kind of chronic disease, and 4 out of 10 have 2 or more. That's a lot. That's a high percentage. People walking around with something chronic, meaning every single day this is causing some kind of suffering. The leading causes of death and disability, the drivers, this is $3.5 trillion annually for healthcare costs. Crazy numbers. And, we're talking about heart disease. If we're talking about adults, we're talking about cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, chronic kidney disease. And the key risks for chronic disease are things like tobacco in adults, right? We're going to get to the kids in a second. Poor nutrition is second. And then lack of physical activity, and then excessive alcohol abuse. And so, the CDC is estimating that over 25% of kids have a chronic disease. Many experts that I work with say it's closer to 50%. The food and the junk in the junk food industry, and our over independence on harsh drugs for addressing a lot of issues that we have that can be truly healed by proper nutrition. It's really leading our population down a very grim path. But I've got some great solutions. So I just want to give, the reality of what's happening first. The good news is that 90% of disease can be reversed with some form of proper nutrition. Mainly a plant-based diet is the one that I work with a very high success rate. And, nutrition really does have to start with the parents, because we can really turn on proper DNA function with that approach. That is scientifically now proven that proper nutrition can trigger a shift in our DNA. These are simple solutions that, most of the diseases that children are diagnosed with can address. And, CNN was even saying that, what does it really mean to consider education for our children? What does it mean to empower them with proper nutrition when they're young? It is such a huge impact on our national security when 71% of the people between the ages of 17 and 24 don't even qualify for military service. Right? It's like obesity is one of the leading causes of them being disqualified. Now, I'm not a fan of sending our youth to fight in war, but we all know that there are a lot of other intentions with our military and protecting our national security. So let's just get to some tips right now, because I think, it would be very helpful for people to have some practicality to move forward. First of all, I will say that avoiding a very highly processed diet that is laden with very commercial foods is going to be one of the first things you can do to start rehabilitating children's guts, right? We talk about the gut because 70% of our immune system resides there. Now, with everything going on currently with the pandemic, it would be wonderful to see the news focusing on more genuine ways of improving our immunity. And that's starting to happen, but very, very slowly. If we can alleviate a lot of the foods that are filled with neon colors, and a lot of the heavy food coloring agents are very undermining to gut health and the microbiome and our immune system. We see more children nowadays with neurological disorders like we've never seen before, sleep disorders, skin disorders, respiratory issues. And a lot of that is because of what is being passed on from the parents genetically, DNA-wise, to these new children and the next generation. We have to start doing something very serious about this to reverse this issue. We can also look at cooking more meals from scratch. They don't have to be labor intensive. They can be very simple, and they can be very clean, and they can be absolutely nutritious and delicious. Avoiding the fast food chains. Huge. Just this morning, I was reading from one of my colleagues, who I'm going to talk about in a moment, that Oaxaca in Mexico is banning junk food chain restaurants, I believe, right now, because they see that there's a huge issue going on. I'm actually going to pull that up so I can make sure I'm saying it correctly. This is unprecedented. So they're saying, should America do this? They're banning the sale of junk food to children. I mean, they see what's going on, right? So this is where the change is starting to happen. Buying organic and non-GMO foods, another huge step in the right direction for our children. Keeping healthier snacks at home so kids have better choices is another great way to support rehabilitating the gut health of our youth. As I said, our gut is managing our immune response, our sleep, our behavior, our respiratory response. And it's really important to put less congesting foods, less inflammatory foods in front of the children so that they can be more focused, not be so hyper, be more, proactive with making better choices for themselves. Because if the things that are in front of them are not ideal, that's the only thing they know. But if we can put more things in front of them that allow them to be more renewed, more energetic, more vital, more healthy, more engaged, less distracted, then they have a fighting chance. We've talked about the fighting chance before. I just want to take a break and give you a chance to respond if you have anything you want to say or ask before I share something else that I feel is really important right now.
Well, there is beauty in that statement to give us a fighting chance, and you've brought up that we're suffering from the nutrition that our grandparents and parents actually laid before us. It's easy to take Fruit Loops away from little Timmy, even though Timmy loves them, and substitute it for something a healthier option. But he's also suffering for what mom cared to eat, mom's diet, and what drugs mom may have taken, and what misprescriptions that mom may have been granted by her doctor. So there's so many variables in this. It's very encouraging that people like you, Joyce, are stepping forward to try and help. I mean, try and help mom not only better her health, but better her children's health. Help grandmother take a vested interest in helping the entire family. So this is very heartwarming.
Yeah, there's a collective consciousness. Children are always looking to their elders, even though the parents think the kids aren't really listening, but they truly do. I used to babysit a lot as a kid, and I was always amazed at how much the kids that I was babysitting for wanted to eat the food that I was eating versus what they typically may have either been, may have been left for them, or, you know, if we were buying something out, they were like, oh, what are you eating? They are always looking up to, you know, the people in front of them, and they kind of do want to mirror that to some degree. And so it's really important for us to be leading examples of what's possible for them. And, you know, I want to say this, you know, so often in our country, the very first thing that is offered when there is something wrong or if we're sick is something unnatural to try and, you know, heal or, you know, just deal with symptomology. But in other countries, the first thing that is typically offered is something natural that allows the body to come back into balance. And I really love the idea that I get to work with a lot of people who are supporting that mission. You know, I want to say to people out there who might be listening, who have young ones themselves, might be thinking of starting family, or feeling that there's a lot to take on and a lot to consider right now. There's a form of medicine called Integrative Pediatrics, which I'm a huge fan of. And, you know, when it comes to healthcare for your children, what that means is they get the best of both worlds. Integrative Pediatrics is marrying Eastern and Western philosophy. The idea that, you know, if a child is sick, if we can do something, if they have like a tummy ache or an ear ache, if we can do something natural that allows the body to heal itself, without bringing something in first that is synthetic, that only harms the body, undermines the gut, and creates more malaise in the future. Shouldn't that really be our first go-to? And then if the natural thing shouldn't work, which 99% of the time it does, then we can go to the other thing. That to me feels like the most sensible approach.
Well, it's obtainable. You know, it's something that we can all aspire to obtain. You know, you talk about how
Absolutely.
we were our upbringing, and granted, I was born many, many, many moons ago. But when I developed a cold as a child, I was given a heaping tablespoon of honey and bourbon, and that impacted me with not wanting to ever be sick again.
You didn't like the taste of the bourbon then, huh?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I probably would not be prescribing bourbon, but I might go with something a little bit more natural, like, you know, maple syrup with some fresh squeezed lemon, or some lemon essential oils, or some melaleuca or something like that. You know, I just want to say that for anyone listening right now, you know, there are healthier options for you. There are incredible professionals out there doing wonderful things with science, backed by experience, backed by knowledge. And that was really where our first form of medicine came from, which was using natural elements from the earth, plants, to support our healing. We talked about Hippocrates using oregano for digestion and respiratory and immune response, and you know, basically everything under the sun. And so I'm really excited that right now I've partnered with Dr. Joel Warsh, who is one of the foremost integrative pediatricians out of LA, and Rob Herring, who's an award-winning documentary filmmaker, for a really wonderful summit called the Integrative Pediatrics Summit. So if you are someone who is listening to this particular broadcast and you are really curious to learn more about what that means and how you can get more connected to the information and start bringing in some of these tips, techniques, and methodologies for your children, we have the most incredible invitation for you to join us with 50 of the top minds in nutrition, medicine, healthcare, and all different aspects of wellness. We've got Dr. Aviva Rome, Kimberly Snyder, Ocean Robbins, and we have an entire platform of celebrities who are working with their children with natural forms of healthcare and using integrative pediatrics to raise their young ones. Hilary Duff, Haley Duff, Emily De Ravine. And so below this video, in the read more section, I've got an invitation for you so you can get free access to join us starting on August 12th, so that you can partake in all of the incredible interviews with all of these different luminaries and start really building your powerhouse toolbox of integrative pediatrics information.
Wow. I have to use the word wow. What a blessing. What a blessing that you've taken the time and energy and have the passion for guiding us. I mean, for showing us the options that are out there and the path to go. Joyce, I personally commend you and your works. It's amazing. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share before we head somewhere else?
I would just like to say, try to open up your mind to new possibilities with your children, and just know that the very first way that children were supported, the very first form of healthcare they ever had back in the day, thousands of years ago, were using natural elements from the earth to heal their bodies successfully. And I truly believe that you can create longevity using natural solutions and healing your body from the inside out. And I would love to see you have the same success that I do with my clients, with your families, with your babies, so that they can go on to raise the next generation, and we can really turn back the clock to these natural solutions and really looking to the earth to provide us with everything that we absolutely need. My goal is to allow you to feel a sense of independence around your health so that you can really go ahead and make the biggest difference in the lives of others. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody that from Joyce's website, you can connect with her and actually schedule a free phone call for some initial consultation or direction. This has been Justin Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing some insight into gut health tips for kids. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts, additional information, and links are provided in this video's Read More. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn some new healthy suggestions and how not to go bananas.